I just went to the club, and this is what I've come to appreciate about the club. Now, as an introvert, even though the club isn't necessarily my thing, I have decided to branch out and experience this because my mind was for some reason compelling me to go. It was drawing me to this specific area, and I just felt sort of compelled to follow along with this vision, and I followed through with it, and now I'm here. And there's a couple of things I'd like to appreciate about it. The first is obviously the bouncer. The bouncer is the person who goes by the law of the default is no, the miracle is yes. The bar to entry is the bare minimum of dressing nicely. That's all it takes to get through. Because the universe's default is no. You can't get access, you can't receive unless you have this sort of perfect fit, you know? You have to reach a bar, pass a bar, in order to enter. Yes, they can prevent you from entering on some clothing, like track pants, for example, or maybe some other ugly outfit. And it's reasonable, you know? I know at first, many years ago when I first tried to enter, it was not so well. And it's not like I wanted to go in there, I was kind of like invited in. And they wouldn't really let me in because of my clothing. Except on one occasion, about a year ago, they let me in with track pants. And they're like, next time, bring some jeans or something. But it's my appreciation for this law being visibly made in action. It's not something a lot of people think about. It's not something a lot of people really care about. But to me, it's important to see and visualize this. It's an important law because it affects our lives. It's an important law because it affects the way in which you proceed through life. It's an important law, the law of no being the default and yes being the miracle. Because that's how jobs work. That's how romance works. And entering into the club is no different. Ordering a drink, no less, is no different. Don't have the cash, no drink. Have the cash, bar to entry has been met, you can exchange that cash for the drink. And I got myself a long black, I think a double black or something, I can't remember. And it's actually a very delicious alcohol. I only took one, just one. I was only in there for literally 2 minutes and I walked straight out. Another thing that I really appreciate about the club is even though it's not my thing, I do sort of appreciate that it is a readily accessible nervous system shocker. Especially if you're an introvert or someone like that and you need something to shock your nervous system, the club is readily available and accessible to you. This means that if you need some type of intermittent self-imposed shock to stimulate your nervous system with, the club is the place to go, even if it is just for a few minutes, because all you have to do is take in that loud beating music, the colors, the people dancing and doing whatever the hell they do, whatever it is they're doing, being loud and, or, I don't know, audacious. You can shock yourself with that if you're not familiar with that. And it's good for your nervous system because when you intermittently subject yourself to that, it will become more and more familiar. And this is why those people in there are so comfortable in that environment. And I can actually now appreciate that because if you were an introvert, that is a setback on your end. Nothing against introvertism, by the way, because I myself am also leaning more towards introvert. But I want to lean to a balance as well, you know? I want to be more balanced and I want to shock my nervous system. And it makes me actually want to go to a club just a little bit more, not because I'm particularly interested in the vibe, but because it does offer that benefit of shocking the nervous system. And then when I become familiar with that environment over time, it's not really a big deal. Just like this attendance, it's only been a year since I last attended a club. And this attendance, even though I was literally in there for a few minutes, and I know people are going to laugh at me for that, but I was able to walk in knowing exactly where to go, what to do. Get your wrist stamped, pass the bouncer, order the drink, despite the loud music. And I was able to comfortably exit as well. Also doing so very cheaply. One drink, $7. It's not bad. A tasty one at that too. Now on my channel, I normally just talk about dating advice and relationship advice. And I normally go trying to do that in a very professional way. But sometimes, occasionally, I kind of like to vlog a little bit. And maybe me sharing this my appreciations for the club and the nightlife, it just adds a little bit of different flavor. And I suppose where this actually comes from, it actually comes from a program that I'm actually a part of. But my program that I'm a part of, it taught me to balance my perspective on life a lot of the time. So if there's something I'm very opinionated on, I should try and balance the scales rather than leaning towards some type of extremism. And there's nothing wrong with an extremist view or an opinionated view. If you have strong opinions, that's fine. They have their place, but be warned, they can also backfire and be dangerous because it can prevent you from accessing certain areas of life. And I'm not particularly saying that the club or the nightlife is the true life, because there's a lot out there in life that can be offered to you that is superior in value. But there is a place for the club, and we can appreciate that its place exists. Also, in terms of shocking the nervous system, it also prepares you to be in unfamiliar environments, much like a cold shower. Now, people will probably argue with me and say, oh, a cold shower is completely different. And I absolutely hate cold showers. I've had a couple in the past. I really don't like them. I don't even think the health benefits have really been proven. And people are going to argue with me and saying, oh, well, yes, they have. And others will be, no, they haven't. But I don't really care. I don't like it. So if you don't like it, you'd find another way to shock your nervous system. And I think the club actually does this. And I know everything that I'm saying here might sound super goofy and really out there. You might even think I'm a little stoned, but I'm not. I'm just coming from a place that you yourself are probably not even familiar with. And perhaps you can even come to appreciate the way I appreciate things, where we just appreciate the small things, the breadcrumbs. We just appreciate the small little breadcrumbs and we amplify those. And it's like, wow. Now, I will admit, earlier, I saw a video by Orion Taraban from Psychax on YouTube saying that people who appreciate breadcrumbs are probably people who don't feast. As in, like, if you don't feast, then it's normal to appreciate the breadcrumbs. And I don't know how to sit with that exactly. It could be true. It could be. But then there's also the case in which, what if just merely focusing on the breadcrumbs diverts our attention away from the negative? Because that's what you manifest if you focus your attention on the negative, and you actually start to manifest the positive, because that's where your focus is, and that actually expands. And so by focusing on the positive experience, even though it wasn't really my vibe, even though this and this and this and this with the club, etc., even though I was all alone, etc., I can focus on those small little things that I can appreciate. And then it's like, because my reticular activating system is on the lookout for more things to be grateful for, those things to be grateful for expand. And this has been a good experience. Even though I've only been to the club for a couple of minutes, drank one drink, and I took off like a dart, I do appreciate this experience. And I hope by me sharing that you can see that it's actually healthy to dabble in just little tiny amounts of things that maybe you're not familiar with, in order to shock your nervous system, to get comfortable, to start appreciating little things that you might not have seen before. And this isn't to encourage bad behavior. This isn't to discourage behavior or realms that I'm opposed to or not really familiar with. I'm just saying certain extremities, certain things, certain realms have their place. And there's these tiny little details that we can appreciate.